welcome to our session on overwhelm. So we're going to talk a little bit about what is the mind doing when we are in the experience of overwhelm. Remember, when we feel overwhelmed, or we feel anxious, or we feel sad, or we feel angry, those emotions are not the byproduct of what's happening in our life. It's not because of the circumstances of our life. It's not because of what's, going on. And so many people, when they look to evolve their emotional experience, they want to better their emotions and their experience of their emotions and access more joy or peace or serenity or fulfillment. They think, I need to fix what's going on that's causing this emotion. And the fix what's going on is always usually focused on people in my life, relationships. I need to make more money. I need to get healthier. I need to get more fit. I need to change something in my environment, in my reality, so that I feel better. And the reality is, that's not what people do who are really, truly fulfilled and who are in a high emotional state most of the time. Individuals who feel joy and inspiration and passion and enthusiasm as a general way of being of who they are not letting their circumstance dictate their experience at all. And they usually create the greatest circumstances because they're driving from those emotions, and they have a high capacity for what I call emotional resiliency, meaning they can be joyful despite what's happening. They can be grateful despite what's happening. They can be empowered and sort of affirmative or enthusiastic, even though the circumstances don't necessarily support those higher expressions. And so such a big step in being able to step out of overwhelm in this instance is understanding, well, how is the mind fueling the overwhelm? What is it doing? And so a great way to catch the mind and create awareness of overwhelm is to jot down what your mind is doing when you feel overwhelmed. And you'll notice that there's a few themes that are probably playing out. You're either thinking that there's too much to do, right? The mind, when it's thinking there's too much to do and then usually not enough time to do it, overwhelm is going to be the byproduct of that. So if we're focusing on all the things that I have to do, and inherently I don't have the time to do all these things, that's going to create overwhelm. The other thing the mind tends to do is it's focusing on all about us, right? It's all up to me. I have to do all of this. I don't have any support. I don't have any help. And we tend to take it all on ourselves in those times of overwhelm, right? It's all up to me, as an example. And the other thing that the mind tends to do is it's like, I don't know what I'm doing, right? It's the focus on the lack of skill, the lack of capacity, the lack of competency that is there, or our perception that that lack of competency and capacity is there. And so if we're focusing on how we don't know what we're doing and how we don't have the ability to perform, that's going to create a lot of overwhelm. That's going to create a lot of stress. And so we have to understand that overwhelm is a byproduct of the mind focusing on those themes, not all the stuff we actually have to do. Because, something that I always, you give people, especially around overwhelm, is I go, name somebody that you know that maybe you, respect or you admire, whom you know is handling 10 times more than you are. And so when I was building my business and I wanted to, train more people and influence more lives, I remember, thinking about like, well, what does the President of the United States have on their plate today? Or, what is Elon Musk doing today? Like, what's he got on his plate? Or what is Oprah Winfrey doing today? And I would think about these individuals who were managing giant ecosystems, who had, many, many more things to manage and tend than I could ever hope to. And therefore, it was an example of how this is all possible. And so, those individuals are not doing those 4 key things that are creating those outstanding results. When we focus on there's too much to do, then, we do less. Like, that's basically the byproduct of that. Not only do we miss out on what we wanted to create, but it's like we just always make up, about how there's too much to do. There's just too much to clean today, and there's too much grass to mow, and there's too much food to cook. Like, the individuals who are creating the greatest things in life aren't focusing on how there's too much to do. They're focusing on how they get to do those things and how lucky they are to be up to those things and how do we get them done, right? There's a completely different way of relating to the world than there's too much to do or there's not enough time, right? It's like we all have 24 hours in a day. So those individuals who are performing at the highest levels, they're looking at time differently. They're not looking at it as there's not enough time. They're looking at, how do I leverage my time to get the most important things done so I can produce the results that I'm looking for? Or how can I leverage other people's times to get it done, right? It's all up to me. Like, if I take it all on myself, I can't do much. But if I understand there's a whole world of resources out there, all of a sudden I can perform at a much higher level. But I have to first give myself permission to see the resources and understand that it's not all up to me in order to step out of overwhelm. I don't know what I'm doing becomes I can learn, right? I can learn to do this. At some point in time, no one knew what they were doing, and they figured it out along the way. And so we've got to learn to redirect the mind to themes or to thought strategies that are going to fuel the experience of life we want to have, like inspiration, empowerment, gratitude, possibility, and so on. And so the first step to that is, man, if I get caught in overwhelm, or you're someone who gets caught in overwhelm a lot, look at those 4 themes and which of those does your mind cater to most. And then when you notice that it's there, use some of those redirects that I just mentioned, or go to a previous training that I've done and look at, joy, or another one that we've done on like peace, or what drives gratitude, and start to redirect the mind into those themes, which are not only going to produce and train and fuel more of those love-based states that we all want to experience, but are also going to support us to perform at our best, at our highest levels. And so I hope you enjoyed this session, and we'll look forward to seeing you soon.